made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, California Jam, Move Well University, the Black Diamond Club, Pure Chiro Notes, the Chiro Dex app, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Chiro Spark, Chirogram, Chiropractic Wealth Management, 8 Weeks to Wellness, Integrative Freedom, and Element Mattresses. Let's hustle.
All right, guys, this is episode 28 of the Chiro Hustle podcast and also our second week of Women Chiropractors. So here's your host, Jim Chester, to tell you about our guest.
So this is Cyndy ElwartShaft, and she started something called Women Chiropractors. And if you are a woman chiropractor and want more support, please listen to this episode. So my first question for you, Cyndy, is what is your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor?
Oh my goodness. Well, my father had narcolepsy, and it was so bad that he'd fall asleep standing up. Very severe. This was in the 1950s, and he decided to go to the University of Michigan, which was the big hospital around us, and to see if it could help him. And they said, nope, you got to learn to live with it. And he was really disappointed. He was a World War II decorated veteran, and he said, so he's driving home, and he noticed a pink car behind him, because remember, this is the 1950s, and all of a sudden, he remembered waking up. That's the point, waking up, right? And his head was looking at mailboxes going by, and the pink car was ahead of him, and he was so scared, he said, I'll try anything. I'll try that chiropractor down the street. And so he tried, who was actually a woman chiropractor, and in the 1950s. And she adjusted him, and my dad got better very quickly and didn't have any episodes of narcolepsy for the rest of his life after getting adjusted by Dr. Ream. And so, by the way, Dr. Ream I found out from the sorority, which is, I guess, the oldest organization in chiropractic, the Women's Sorority at Palmer, that she was actually Chiropractor of the Year. I never knew that. So, anyway, I was born, and I had a rough birth, and my eye crossed into my head. I had converging strabismus. And I also was having unexplained febrile seizures. And so my father asked if his little 2-month-old baby could see a chiropractor. And she said, yeah, bring her in. So Dr. Ream adjusted me, and guess what? My eye straightened out, and I never had to wear an eye patch. And the seizures just disappeared. So my dad asked if he could learn how to become a chiropractor, because he was wondering he thought, man, what a way to help the world. So they sold the house they'd built themselves and moved to Davenport, Iowa, and took my uncle with him. My dad's first thing was saying, hey, Walt, what you doing? He said, what you going to do with the rest of your life? And he said, I don't know. And he said, why don't you become a chiropractor? So my uncle said, how much do you make? And they said, $10,000 a year. That sounded like a lot to a young guy out of the service. So off he went. And my mom ran a boarding house, and my dad graduated from the Palmer School of Chiropractic in 1962. And my dad is responsible for probably bringing at least 50 chiropractors into the profession.
That's pretty impressive.
That's what I grew up. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's how I was raised. So do you want me to go on with that? Because I have a pretty amazing childhood.
Yeah, let's hear about it a little bit more. I think that your story's going along really well, and we don't want to rush you through a good story.
Okay, great. Well, so anyway, we my dad graduated from Palmer, and we moved back to Michigan eventually, because they weren't holding state boards very often, but we ended up back in Michigan. And my dad eventually had a home office, and he ended up having such a large practice that people would have to stand in line outside the door to get in. And so then we built out the office behind our house, and that's how I grew up. And so, of course, one of my first jobs in the office was emptying the ashtrays. So this was the 1960s at that point. And so here I am, a 6-year-old kid emptying out ashtrays. And then by the time you're 12, Well, by the time you're 12, you're in front of the front desk and you start to help with patients once in a while. And you learn how to answer the phone at 6 years old, by the way. And you learn how to the correct inflection and say, could you hold, please? I'll have someone help you. And you just go off with that. So that was my childhood. We spent every single year we went to homecoming back when it was Lyceum. We went there. BJ Palmer died when my dad was in school. And so he had great admiration for him. And but we went to Palmer Homecoming every year. We wouldn't miss it. And one year, my father found BJ Palmer's gold Cadillac in an ad that they were selling. It was given to him by the profession. And so my dad asked his secretary, who was given to him after BJ died. And so, you know what gold Cadillac I'm talking about, don't you? That one that's always out there at events. Life owns it now.
I've heard about this gold Cadillac, but I don't know a whole lot about it.
Oh, well, I do, right? Because that was at my house for a long time. So I've got pictures and stuff like that. But so anyway, he called her up. Her name was Edith Harbit. And he said, do I need to bring a trailer? He just bought it sight unseen and gave her whatever she was asking for it. And he said, I will be out the door in an hour on the road. And so she sold it to him. And she said, no, you can drive it back home. So my brother, who was a chiropractor as well, drove BJ's car back home from Davenport, Iowa. And then it became, it sort of was like we had lots of chiropractors come visit us from there. They came and had to come and see it. And my dad made sure it was in a heated garage in the winter and that it was not too hot in the summer. And he had it restored by an expert. And of course, we live in the Motor City, so there was amazing people. It did need lots of restoration. The engine needed a bit of work. But anyway, so it was my first wedding car. And one time we drove it to Palmer Homecoming with Donna Kraft, who's my cousin, and she's on the board with me, and she is the first president of the National Board of Chiropractic Examiners. So there's a picture of her and myself by BJ's car, which was my wedding car. And so now we sort of, bring the tradition on. So eventually at some point in time, we took, my dad made sure that the car, he felt like it belonged in a museum, chiropractic history thing, not just in someone's garage. And so, but I did drive it, it was just part of my life growing up. So anyway, that was that part of that. And then my dad was very, very excited about chiropractic. Of course, we had enormous health changes. Our entire family's health changed after getting adjusted. And so we would just, we were always having student events, bringing them to schools. We were really involved with Life being started. My dad was the original founding person with the Today's Chiropractic magazine. He was an original investor, very involved. He was the Michigan Chiropractic Council started. He was one of the founding members. So I have fond memories of doing that. Every vacation was a chiropractic seminar. We started with Parker Chiropractic Seminars, where he went down to Dallas, and there was not that many people there at it, but it was really helpful. And then we graduated to DE, so I grew up at DE, and in fact, I met my first husband there. We were sitting at a seminar, and I was listening to Charlie Tremendous Jones speak, and we met across a motivational seminar in chiropractic. So that was my childhood. It was all about that. My dad also chartered buses to take it down when Sherman started. And so I was there at the very beginning of Sherman as well. So that's the beginning of it. Do you want more?
Well, I know that we're interested in, I know Luke has a question for you right now about, I'll just let him go into it with you.
Go ahead.
So what would you say makes you unique in the chiropractic world?
Okay, well, that is really interesting. I guess the fact for me is that I decided about 10 years ago. I ended up getting divorced from my first husband. He had some big issues. We divorced, and I ended up in huge debt, and I have 7 kids, and I had to start my practice and life all over from scratch. And I had no, I had relatives who were chiropractors, but I really didn't have any other resources to help me out at the time. And I really reached out to my girlfriends in chiropractic and kept making friends with them. What happened at that point in time was I thought, I think I need to buy the URLs to Women Chiropractors, because I would like to see some more resources developed for us, and I was afraid someone else might take it and just use it for their own benefit. And I thought that this Women Chiropractors might be a really great place to start, helping women help other women. And so I bought it a long, long time ago, back when everybody was using websites. About 4 years ago, I didn't even know how to start a group. And I asked a young graduate, Kelly Milano, and my cousin, Nancy Elwartshafft, to help me start the Women Chiropractors Facebook group. And so we did. And it was just a means to connect other women chiropractors, to connect with each other and ask questions. And it goes back to the Parker days of the Brown Bag Club, is what they call it, where he told everybody to go take this brown bag they gave him full of materials, and you want to meet with other chiropractors during the week and share your lives, share your stories, share what helps, what works, what doesn't work. And so I thought, because I couldn't leave my home as much because I had all these kids at home, the social media platform would be a really great place to do it. And so what started at that point in time it just blew up last year. We're now at 5,300 women chiropractors and women chiropractic students globally. We had about 100 new women chiropractors every single week. And the interactions on it are about 35,000 interactions every 28 days is what Facebook said. So because all this was going on and there was so many different questions and demands and things like that, I thought I'd better start a nonprofit group. And so we did start a nonprofit group. Women Chiropractors is what it's called. It's registered out of the state of Nevada. And we have just really, really started to work on this Women Chiropractors thing to help women chiropractors really connect and deal with the things in their life, become better practitioners, help them get the dreams that they wanted to achieve in their life. And so that's really what my focus has been on in the last several years.
Well, that's really cool hearing that story. And did you ever expect for that growth to happen like that?
No, it just went viral. It went viral last year around this time. And it just went boom. We just kept doing, first we just added our friends, right? The 3 of us added our friends, and then pretty soon they told their friends, and then we hit some kind of tipping point, and it went viral. And we just had a hard time keeping up with it because we wanted the integrity of it. The thing that makes women chiropractors work on the Facebook group right now is we don't allow people to just to say cruel things or to put someone down or say my technique's better than yours or all sorts of stuff. We allow people to ask any question they want to ask there, but we're really careful about who we let in. We vet every single one of these doctors in this group. They are vetted by license, or they're vetted by their student ID. And we even look past even the license to make sure that they're real people there. So, and if they're troublemakers, if they, like I said, if they're causing other issues with other women, they're out of there. So, but oh my gosh, it's just, you can't even understand how active this thing is. I mean, when I looked at the Facebook metrics, it just about blew my mind for the first time. I couldn't even get over that.
It's pretty amazing. So, do you have any quotes or mantras that stand out in your mind that help you with your own momentum and what you're doing?
Well, I mean, there always is a thing. If it is to be, it's up to me. And really, that's a big one for me. And so, but I'm a great delegator. I'm good at delegating things to other people. I don't have to own everything myself because this thing is bigger than me for sure. But I have decided to do it. And that I have made up my mind is my big quote. I have made up my mind and I have decided to do it. That's really how I have functioned through this whole thing. Okay, this is what I've decided to do. I'm going to build this organization. Okay, I've made up my mind, and then I figure all the ways around it. And that is my motivating quote. I've made up my mind.
That's very impressive to me. And I think that resonates with all the Chiro Hustle podcast listeners out there, because people are always looking for motivation, and they're always looking for an edge, and they always want to build certainty and clarity for themselves. So I'm just going to go off script a little bit with you, but I think it's real important that we talk about this. And how has your life changed from the point that you started this organization, and how has it impacted you?
Wow. Okay. So, I started teaching classes at the Michigan Association of Chiropractic on Women Chiropractors, specific things on technique and things that I wish I would have known. And they were kind enough to allow me to come up with a brand new, there's not much out there, by the way. There wasn't much before we did this. There was 3 articles on women chiropractors that I could find on the web before I started this. Isn't that something? 3, maybe 2. One quoted one other one. So
that's why I wanted to ask you this, because I know that you've caused quite a movement with this whole organization.
Isn't that something? So you have to know, here I am. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I live in a nice suburb closer to the University of Michigan, and I have, I'm a mom, right? And I have a nice size practice. I'm not my dad had a high volume practice, but I can't practice as much as he did. So I built a nice practice. I'm a great adjuster. Both of my dad was asked by Dr. Thompson to take his technique over. And my dad decided he just didn't want to travel all over, and my cousin Nancy is, her dad was a student doctor for the Cox brothers who took over Gonstead. So we're heavy technique-based people, So I just did the best I could with what I had. I couldn't travel, A lot of these things, I'm so out of the loop with this. I've done all of this on the internet. And, I wasn't able to travel. I couldn't afford to travel, or going through the divorce. My kids, I couldn't leave all the time like a lot of people do. So I figured out what I could do with where I was at. And it's just like, I have to tell you, I feel like I have a hand on my back from God. It's literally a push on my hand to do this. I can't not do it. Ask George Curry. I bent his ear a lot. Went to school with George, by the way, so he's a good friend of mine. But you know what I'm saying? I bent everybody's ear with this, and no one would listen. And I just kept doing what I was going to do. And finally, Palmer found out about this too, because I was going to teach at homecoming a specific women chiropractors. And it took me 4 years to get through to them that they needed to do this. And the reason I was really concerned about it is I know too many women chiropractors, even in my own family, who aren't doing as well as they wanted to because of childbirth or whatever happened in their life. They were in and out of practice, and they had a hard time starting up practice, and they're not doing as well as the men. And I realized that 50% of our profession in schools are women. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to our profession if we don't help these women? I love chiropractic. It's incredible. I'm a straight chiropractor, and it just bothers me to know that if someone doesn't do something, then this profession is going to fall flat on its face. And not too many people saw that. There's very few people saw that. And so that's really where I started at. So like I said, I hadn't traveled, but my life, now all of a sudden people do know who I am, because I was just a mom who's a chiropractor, had a nice practice. They didn't even really know who I was at my state organization. I was just that person, So now people kind of know who I am. And when I go to seminars, the women run up to me and they want pictures with me. They hug me. They tell me how much their life has changed. I can't believe it. I'm addicted to your site. That's all I can do is, I watch everything that goes on there. I read every single post every single day. And so now I'm an interesting small-time celebrity, I guess.
That's such an endearing story. It almost makes me shed a tear over here just because I know what it's like to come from the sidelines to the headlines. And I know I know what it's like when people see you as somebody important in the chiropractic world. And it's such an honor to be able to have you on the podcast. And I can't wait till all of your audience gets a chance to hear your episode and to be able to support what we're doing as well based on our friendship and the momentum that we both have. And I think that's really, like you said, it's a force of God.
It is. I can't stop. I can't stop it. I can't stop. I'm not supposed to stop. I have no idea. It's just this compelling force. I've never had anything like it in my life. And the line from the Blues Brothers, I'm on a mission from God. That's what it is. It really, really is.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, California Jam, Move Well University, the Black Diamond Club, Pure Chiro Notes, the Chiro Dex app, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Chiro Spark, Chirogram, Chiropractic Wealth Management, 8 Weeks to Wellness, Integrative Freedom, and Element Mattresses. Let's hustle. Yeah, I honestly feel the same way. And as every day goes on, Luke will probably attest to this. I become ever more grateful, ever more inspirational, ever more of a leader. And, sometimes it's not the role that we've designed for ourselves, but it's the role that we start to live into.
That's so true. That's so true. It's amazing. It's amazing. Can you see, though, yourself what will happen if we didn't come up with this? And we did a survey in Women Chiropractors about how women chiropractors are doing. And there's some really good stuff, and there's some stuff that's frightening. How much the women chiropractors make. And this is a statistically good study. We have over 500 people in it. And we asked the questions correctly, and that's what everybody wants to see, the survey results. And they were just as I thought they would be. There's women practicing marginally. There's $1 million practice, women's with $1 million practices. And, it's like, it's not that the women aren't able, it's we have to adapt to this new world of women chiropractors, and how are we going to go from this point onward?
Yeah, so this leads me perfectly into the next question with you, is what would we be able to accomplish if more people knew about your cause?
Oh, man. Okay. There is so much we can do. Okay, let me just tell you what I launched yesterday with Rosemary Batansky, who is the president. I picked to be the president of our organization. And I wanted something that would have worked for me. And so what I called it was reentry, and it's for women who are out of practice or just marginally practicing, which is what I was through the 7 kids. You can imagine my life was busy because my ex was a DC. But I had to get back in full time on my own, and it was frightening, really frightening. There's a lot of little things I didn't know. I wanted to ask people questions. And so Women Chiropractors is sponsoring reentry, and we put the word out, got a lot of people applying, and we picked 5 applicants, and we are going, coach them for 6 months for free into success. That's in the success of what they feel is important for them. Okay, so we're going to take them for wherever they're at. We'll teach them technique. We'll get them up to, we'll help them become sure on all their skills. And I don't think there's any program out there at all. And I talked to people at the different colleges, and they said, we don't have it. So, at the end of the day, we have women paying dues in womenchiropractors.org. But if we had more people knowing about it, we need some finances to reach these women. We have, by the way, We have a scholarship fund we've set up already. So we're not even an organization a year old, and we already have 2 scholarships set up. Does that tell you our heart? In the first one, they surprised me at the launch at Palmer, the Palmer Institute for Women's Studies, which they basically were inspired by my story, which is pretty darn amazing to me, right? I was shocked, but they decided they needed to do something, and I'm hoping the rest of the schools will follow that, and that's what I'm hoping as well. If people knew about that, the Palmer Institute should be the Logan Institute, the Life Institute, the whatever for women's studies, only because women need resources, a little different than men, and the whole profession, the teaching was based on how men practice, and nothing wrong with it. We're not saying that. They just need a few little extra things like, how do I take off when I'm pregnant? That was just a question today. It comes up all the time. How many weeks did you take off when you're pregnant? It's something no man ever has to deal with. Or how about this? How did you nurse your child, Jim, when you were after you gave birth? Of course you don't worry about that, right? But we as natural doctors look at all that stuff, and we want to give our children the best. So how do we do that? How do we work and nurse our children and give birth, be pregnant? How do we do that? And so that's just one small incident. So if more people knew about it, we could give them resources. We can reach out to them. We want to have more scholarships. We want to have more funds. And the one scholarship they gave was in my sister's name. And I'd like to spend just a second talking about her.
Please
if that's
do.
Okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So my sister, Dr. Cyndy ElwartShaft, was the first licensed chiropractor on mainland China. I don't know if any of you ever heard of her, but she was over there and she held that first license. Linda died 7 years ago, and she really never, she loved chiropractic. It was like her gut thing to tell people about chiropractic, and she really took it on the chin financially, but she didn't really care. She just wanted to do it. It was a great missions thing, and she was in Zhejiang, Sichuan, China, and so. But most people didn't know her, and that kind of bothered me a lot, because here this woman did this amazing thing, and because she didn't look out for any she never asked for celebrity, so to speak, she kind of became unknown. There's an article in DC News about her. It's called An American Chiropractor in China. So I made her write that article, by the way, because she would have done nothing. And so my board surprised me with the Cyndy ElwartShaft Memorial Scholarship. And we were going to give this money to someone that's been out of practice or out of school for over 2 years, who is struggling due to illness, some pregnancy-related thing, anything like that, to get back in practice. And so that's what our first scholarship is for. And then our board is funding a second scholarship for students. So that's what we're doing already.
So that kind of leads us into our next question. Where do you see the chiropractic profession in about 20 years?
Well, half of it will be female, right out there. Half of it will be female. And hopefully, we have 0 female board presidents of chiropractic colleges. Did you know that? 0. So we're going to see half of them being on there. And you know what we're going to see? We're going to see the profession doing better. Do you know why? Because I think chiropractic, because we've always been struggling, it's not been a point of the men are anti-women, but we've always been in this struggle. Let's let everybody know about chiropractic care. And so the people who are a little, they aren't able to go out there and do all this stuff, such as myself, really didn't have a point to play. The internet has changed all that, right? For you and for you and for me, right? We can do amazing things from wherever we're at in the world, right? Because our organization is global. We've got people from Africa and people from almost every country in the world right now. But, I'm going to see the profession is going to be stronger. I think as we help these women chiropractors with some tools, I think we're going to reach that tipping point everybody's talking about. I think when we do this, this is how it's going to happen. We really need to embrace women chiropractors because there's a whole lot of underutilized doctors out there that just with a little bit more, and I've seen it on my site. I've seen women telling me testimonies all the time. Like I said, I can't believe, I love the site. You know, I was getting ready to get out of practice. I've seen that many times. I'm starting to do better in practice. I'm seeing more people. I'm able to have my voice. So chiropractic is going to be raging in the huge percentage rate. That's what's going to happen in 20 years. That's my vision.
Well, that's impressive, and I do really appreciate you standing up so strong for the women chiropractor. I do think that obviously we see a need for that as well, as we're doing 16 straight weeks of women chiropractors on the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm sure you saw that post I made a couple days ago.
Yes.
Who are the top 5 women chiropractors that we should feature on the Chiro Hustle podcast? Because we had about 14 of them already pre-selected, and we were looking to get 2 more on board. But the outpour of amazing women that were recognized for the podcast, I'm just going to tell you some sheer numbers. There were upwards of 200 women chiropractors that were mentioned onto that post, and some of them were mentioned multiple times. I mean, the amount of the pour out for support for the women chiropractors has been absolutely amazing. It's touched my heart. And I know that we have some really cool stuff up our sleeves to help promote the women chiropractor in the new year. I think there's going to be some really cool stuff that we do to not only brand the Chiro Hustle podcast, but to brand the woman in the chiropractic profession as well.
Yeah, congratulations. That's an awesome thing. And what's interesting, of course, none of us could have known when I started this what was going on in the world, right? It's sort of like the year of the woman on top of it. So everybody's looking at all that stuff right now. And like I said, we don't hate the men in our profession. We love them. We just know that there's instances that are just different. And we need to embrace it. And we need to teach and learn and help each other out. And we're going to do amazing things together.
So earlier in the beginning, you were mentioning Facebook posts going viral and things of this nature. Can you elaborate on some of your marketing techniques and like what are your strategies that get you that kind of reach?
You want to know them?
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody.
Okay.
You want to know our Facebook marketing techniques? We have none. It's just been a totally viral thing. Nothing. We've done nothing.
Well, how do you get your news out to your community? Like, do you use anything other than Facebook, or do you use traditional?
So we have a newsletter.
Okay.
And then the people who are on who have joined the paying membership have their own site, and they also have their own. We send a newsletter out to them. So that's really where we're at. Honestly, this is 100% viral. One woman told another woman who were longing to connect, and it was a vacuum, right? It just literally was a vacuum. So that's my marketing techniques right now. So that's it. There's nothing besides that except it's a safe space for women, and there wasn't anything there before.
So on top of that, with the newsletter and with the Facebook group for the women, is there anything that you do to stay engaged with your audience, like an app or any type of technology?
We do have an app. We do have a Women Chiropractors app. We haven't really advertised it a whole lot, but we do have an app. And then we are starting to go. By the way, if anybody's interested in booking us, we are booking our 2018 year, and we've been asked to several places. So we have spoken we're at the Ohio State Convention. I was down with a couple of life grads at their Fall Life CE celebration, and we were talking about that. So I guess that was our beginning of it. But, this is a brand new thing. So, but we've been invited to a lot of places. And by the way, Ohio State said, where did all these women come from? Because we had 40 women there, and their convention, they didn't see them anywhere else. We're bringing people to the convention. Palmer had tons of women there too. So the women are hungry for it. They're coming just to see us, by the way.
Just really quickly, what's the name of the app in case anyone would like to check it out?
Women Chiropractors.
Women Chiropractors, there you have it. So, in your free time, what do you like to listen to? What do you like to read?
So I am a voracious reader. I was reading Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass. That's a nice one. I read a lot. Tristan Schaub does a lot of little short versions of the books. Profit First, that's a great one. I'm reading right now, let's see, besides Profit First, I don't know. I read a lot of things all the time, so I'm always consuming something. I have to stop myself from reading, so that's my thing. Readers are leaders, right? That's right. But that one for women, I think, is a simple, comprehensive way. You Are a Badass Financially. That's a really great one for women and money too. So, and we'll probably go through that in our reentry program as well with the women.
So this is the point in our show where we ask our guests, are there any links, websites you want people to know so they can find you and your organization better?
Yes, womenchiropractors.org. That's our website address, and you can find us on the web that way. And if you're female, you can find our Facebook page. We do have sponsors on our page, and they have been fabulous so far. So if you go on Women Chiropractors page, you can see stuff. There's not much posted, but unless you're a female doctor, you're not going to get in. We'll find you and we'll root you out. It's just important for the women for the sense of safety and community right now. So we're working on that. We want to bring the men in at some point in time. Like I said, this is really a pure altruistic movement. It is not a hidden whatever, thing to make a lot of money in some. And there's nothing wrong with making that, and we have to support ourselves. But we are really a serious organization of women who are giving of themselves to help others and help the world and help the profession. So that's where you can find us.
So I guess back to me, I'll have to depend on you to share our amazing content with your group.
Oh, absolutely, we will. And you can put on our Women Chiropractors page, we'll put that on there, and I will absolutely share it with them because a lot of the women don't even know the story. In fact, I'm sort of being lost in the shuffle. They don't even know who I am, some of them. It's kind of interesting because the people took over the site in a lot of ways, and they're taking ownership of it. About April last year, it started to become their group. Not my group, it's their group. And that's what it needed to be.
That's really cool. So I'm going to close out with the last question for you. Is there anything we didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience?
No, other than I really appreciate you guys having us on. I'm telling you, I have an unbelievable board that are just unsung heroes. I'm not surprised you had those 200 women listed. We did it already in Women Chiropractors. The top women chiropractors that you have. Most of them had taught at seminars, and so that's how people knew them. But Rosemary Vitansky is the president of my organization, and this woman is unbelievable. She has a connective tissue disorder, so she cannot practice, but she has $1 million practice, and she gives freely. She's one of the best businesswomen you've ever seen in your life, and so she's my partner in doing a lot of this work, as well as my board. Shout outs to Nancy Alwartowski Cooper. She did all this website stuff for us. She does the connectivity. She works her butt off. Donna Kraft, she helps us around all the political maneuvering and all this stuff. She knows everybody. Everybody knows her. And Susan Blaskey and Amanda Affelblatt will be the first female president of the Michigan Association of Chiropractic, and Nicole Poirier and Barbara Eaton. So, she was a good friend of mine. She helped me out when I first started to get back into practice myself. So anyway, that's what I want you to know. And we've got so much stuff up our sleeve that's exciting. We're getting ready to celebrate the National Women Chiropractors Appreciation Day and Mabel Heath Palmer's birthday on June 5th.
Well, all this is so, it touches my heart, just being able to talk to you and have you share your story. And I can tell how much you admire everybody in your life. I can tell how much support you have also. And I know that there's still a long road to go, but congratulations on everything that you've done up to this point with your life and your career and with the special group that you've helped found.
Well, thank you. I'm so honored to be on it, and I love the work you're doing. Keep on keeping on, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I just wanted to take this moment to personally thank you for being our guest on this episode.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'll be on anytime if you have any questions.
I thank you as well, and have a wonderful day, Doc.
All right. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.